freaking first cut. Golly. Hello, YouTube. The President's Cup is in the books. We're going to chat through a splendid Sunday of golf. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll jump into it right now. Welcome to the First Cup podcast. I'm Rick Gaiman. That right there, Greg Ducharme. Hi, Gregors.
What's going on, boys? Much more exciting end to this event than we thought on Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. Much more exciting. So it ended up being a great event.
Kyle Porter is also here. Kyle, hi.
I'm having a horrible day. I'm yelling at you guys. I'm not actually mad at anybody here. I'm just taking it out on you. Can't get my microphone to work. I think one of my 27 kids came out here and jacked with it one day. But I think we're back. I'm like Spieth. I'm back.
Yeah, listen, sunny days wouldn't be so great if it wasn't for rain, right? You had a little bit of rain trying to figure out the mic situation.
Throwing my mic around. I was so mad.
He's abused the Rode pod mic a couple of times, but for now, we've got you loud and clear.
It's great. And most of it was my fault. I have two mics plugged in. Couldn't even figure out which one was the right. Anyway, nobody wants to hear about this. Let's talk about Tom Kim.
All right. Before we do that, I got to pay the bills. First Cut merch for the rest of the year. As far as I'm aware, for the rest of the year, 20% off. There it is. Jacob is showing you a graphic. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a QR code there. Scan that with your cell phone, and it'll take you right to the merch shop. You can get all your etched glasses. You can get your t-shirts, your hats, your hoodies, etc., etc. I've seen people with stickers, First Cut stickers on the back of their laptops. That's always a fun one. The code you're looking for, First Cut 20 at checkout. That's 20% off. We did have some people, Greg, they tried First Cut 30 and First Cut 40 at our recommendation. Didn't seem to work. I think the guys over at CBS are too smart for that.
Yeah, maybe they were listening too. That was a good suggestion, though. I still haven't tried it, but I haven't forgot about it either. And next time I'm entering a promo, I'm definitely gonna, try for more.
I do it every time. If there is a number in the promo code, try a bigger number first. A life tip.
I like that.
Is that like Poulter 48 or whatever?
Yeah. When it says Poulter 25, do Poulter 100.
Yeah.
Get it for free.
See if you can get the comp tick. Now we're talking.
So it'd be like $0.
Right. Exactly. Sunday singles. Well, actually, let me just zoom out a little bit. The United States has won the President's Cup. Final score, 17.5 to 12.5, which, Greg, by the way, the Internationals covered. It was a 6.5 point spread. So hat tip to the Internationals for rallying on the weekend to get themselves a cover.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about where we're sitting on Friday night, and we're wondering if Sunday is going to be a football day or Sunday is going to be a golf day. I mean, it looks like it could be over by Sunday. And every set of matches that are put out there, you're thinking, okay, well, the Americans can very easily go 4-0 here over the weekend. And that was far from the case as the Internationals won the day. And then you come in here and I mean, at 5:00, you still don't quite know who's going to win. You think you do, but you don't know for sure. Look, they held their ground. They played some great golf, and I think they have a couple of stars who really, Kyle already mentioned one. I don't think he's the only one who really stepped up and outperformed their ability, which was great to see.
The Internationals won the weekend, Kyle, 8-7-1. It was not enough, obviously, because of the domination out of the gate from the Americans. We have not had a chance to really talk President's Cup with you this week. So before we kind of go into the storylines and the winners and the losers, how was your President's Cup week?
Well, I thought it was great. I think team events like this are set up perfectly. I was tweeting with Data Golf about this because the cup was not really in doubt. It felt like it was, right? It felt like, oh, Tom Kim, wins 2 points on Saturday and the Internationals are coming on Sunday. And listen, it's just math. So that's why you play sports, because math can go badly. But the cup was not ever really in doubt. And yet and this happens in every single team event, Ryder Cup, Solheim Cup, President's Cup, it felt for like 20 minutes late on Sunday, like for 95% of these events, it feels like you don't know who's going to win. Even if the US's chances of winning never really dipped below 90%, 95% on the weekend. And that's why the sort of the like setup of these team events is so perfect, because we can fool ourselves into, or not fool, but we can like talk ourselves into the team that's losing. Oh, well, if they just win this hole and they flip these two matches, those are things that we act as if they're a lot easier to do than they actually are. And so because we do that, it makes it fun, because you can talk yourself into it being a super close event. So that's kind of more of a note on Sunday. I thought overall the President's Cup I think it's awesome. Listen, I wrote about this on Sunday night. I think I tweeted about it too. It's not the Ryder Cup. It's not supposed to be. It never will be. It's good. I thought it was a ton of fun. 3 of the last 4 of these have been good. You know, you take out 2017, which I thought was mostly terrible. It wasn't competitive. It wasn't that fun. 2015 was great. 2019 in Royal Melbourne was obviously awesome. One of the better experiences I've had covering golf. And then this one, I think, you know, we can break this down more about like what this looks like going forward, but I felt a lot of optimism, and I don't know about hope, but just optimism for this event going into the future after this week.
I spend the vast majority of Sunday going, okay, if they win all the matches they're currently leading in, and then flip these two, and then Jordan Spieth pulls a hammy, like they might have a chance out here. And I'd spend, 3.5 hours doing that, and never seems to come to fruition, but it's fun. Certainly fun.
And in these, it's a lot easier because you need, almost all of them. So they got to flip everyone that they're losing, and with the exception of a few. But it definitely makes it fun.
Let's do a little bit of highlights from Sunday singles, and we'll start with Jordan Spieth, who was the second match out. Wins 4-3 over Cam Davis. And Greg, that solidified his perfect week at the President's Cup. 5-0-0, the first American to accomplish that feat in a President's Cup since Jim Furyk did it in 2011.
Yes, very, very cool. And I was happy for him. I wasn't sure we were going to see anybody go play all 5 matches. I thought even Thomas and Spieth, as well as they were playing, I thought they might sit down Saturday afternoon. It turned out to be a good move to play him. But I didn't think with the depth of the U.S. team that anybody would have to go 5 matches. They did. Spieth and Thomas were really hard to beat, even though they weren't great. I mean, Jordan Spieth had spurts of greatness seemingly in every match where he'd string together a run. He'd chip in, give it a little bit of magic. But all in all, it was not the best performance on the team. I don't think he made more birdies than anybody on the team, but at the same time, you couldn't beat him. And he figured out a way to win every match. And some of them they handled and they rolled. And sometimes he had to lean on JT, and sometimes, probably more often, JT leaned on him. And he stepped up. But it was kind of classic Jordan Spieth, in my opinion.
Well, I was going to say it's match play is so great for Spieth because, he gets so just like off the planet sometimes. Like he bogeyed the first 2 holes today, right? He was playing Cam Davis. Cam Davis won the first 2 holes with par, and you're like, that shouldn't happen, But then he does these like Spieth like thing, and I mean, we sort of joke about this, Rick. This is how he puts his rounds together in PGA Tour events. He'll make 7s and then like 5 3s in a row, and you're like, this is. I mean, it's a roller coaster. It's why this poster behind me exists. And in match play, it makes it it makes it easier for him to win because the 7 you don't have to erase with 5 3s, but if you have the 5 3s, you're going to win all those holes, right? If you make the 7, you just lose that hole. You don't have to make up for it along the way to run down the rest of the field. So I actually feel like he should be better at match play than he has been over the course of his career. He hasn't been good in singles. I mean, obviously this was his first singles win, and him and JT are awesome together. I think they're who people think Cantlay and Schauffele are. Cantlay and Schauffele are good, but I think JT and Spieth are better together, and that they were a ton of fun to watch throughout the week.
I want to look up, like what's a guy's record in their 5th match of the week, right? Like I do wonder how much fatigue comes into these guys that have really good opening sessions and then play their 5th in either 3 days or in 4 days, and it's like, okay, I might be a little bit gassed here.
Yeah, I've always thought that played a role in JT and Spieth's total singles record. Those matches are so emotional through the week. It's more so than playing 90 holes in a tournament competition. It's more than that. It's extremely emotional on the 3rd hole on Thursday or Friday if it's a Ryder Cup. It's very unique, and I imagine it's exhausting.
Well, that's one reason that you get guys. I mean, we saw this on the European side last year, right, where Rahm just puts the whole continent on his back, and then he gets housed by Scotty Scheffler in singles. We've seen that happen to Rory. We've seen guys that have to carry, and I think the U.S. has actually done a pretty good job of managing this over the last 6 or 7 years. Of not, I mean, DJ went 5 at Whistling Straits. Spieth and JT went. Were they the only ones to go 5 this time around, Rick?
And Sam Burns.
Okay, so they don't. I think they're deep enough that they don't have. I'm actually a proponent of like riding the hot hand in the team portion, like the first couple of days, and then if you like figure it out on Sunday. But I think they've actually done a pretty good job of managing that over the last few years to where they're not rolling out, somebody that's played 88 holes and is just completely emotionally cooked.
Jordan Spieth's match against Cam Davis was highlighted by 4 consecutive wins, 11, 12, 13, 14. That was a 6-hole stretch in which he won 5 holes and kind of buried Cam Davis in, who ended up having himself a pretty good week, but ran into the Spieth buzzsaw. That point that Spieth scored, earned for the Americans, was the first of the day because JT first out, Greg. He ran into Si Woo Kim. Do we have the drop?
Woo, shaking that ass, shaking that ass, shaking that ass.
That was the best part of the 2017 President's Cup, by the way.
Siwoo was out there shaking that ass today. He was doing a great job. Greg, he gave us both the shushing.
Yeah.
And also, now that he has the new broomstick putter, when he rolled in his putt on 18, I thought he was going to go for the full on like guitar solo, like one of these.
He almost did.
I thought he was gonna.
He was great. Everybody thought that Tom Kim should have been in there, or at least somewhere around that match. But Siwoo stepped up, and he had a great President's Cup too. He was a big part of the match yesterday afternoon, and I have his official record right here. So he gets 3. He goes 3-1.
He was the top point scorer.
Oh, he ended up being top. Yeah. 3. So three full points for them. That was a really impressive performance. And then taking down JT in the first match out. The only thing you wish is that that was the first point on the board. That's the funny thing when you set these matches. They don't come in the order they go out.
Yeah.
You have a route like this. So you're planning your strategy. Siwoo's playing great. I know he's going to get that first point for me. Well, it depends on when he wins. So it didn't feel like it carried as much momentum because Spieth already had an American flag on the board.
I thought. Go ahead, Greg. Sorry.
It was huge regardless. You can go.
I thought that. And maybe the international team realized this. He was antagonizing JT, whether it was purposeful or not, so much. JT was so annoyed, like this guy, And it started with he wouldn't give him a couple putts, which I mean, JT did the exact same thing earlier in the week.
JT is the king of petty wars, and I love it.
Yeah, it's
insulted
great.
when he is not given a putt, yet like he's not handing anything out either.
Yeah, if you have JT tears, bring them to me. I want to drink them. I have wanted to drink them all week. Like if you're a European watching this for some reason and you have leftover tears from Whistling Straits, I'll drink those also. If you have pre-tears for Rome next year, I'll take those as well. Their match was fantastic because when Siwoo went full Patty Reed, just it's kind of subtle. It's not that subtle, but there are times when it's subtle with JT, but you can tell underneath the words that he's saying to himself are not fit for any human to ever see because they're horrific words.
He was showing some real kind of swagger down the stretch. JT, like he was
Siwoo,
and so was Siwoo. They're locked in, and I agree with you. I think that had that kind of nitpickiness, if that's a word. It definitely played a role in that because they're club twirling, they're walking after it.
The club twirl into 17 from JT was an all-timer.
Yeah,
that was the one where he was kind of had his head tilted and he was twirling,
and he just gave it like the.
Yeah, it was I mean, it's what you want in a singles match, right? I don't think JT and Siwoo Kim hate each other, but they annoyed each other today, which is perfect for that kind of matchup.
Yeah, you could see JT annoying. If you're a JT's opponent, I could see him being annoying too. As big a fan as I am, there's no doubt Siwoo's saying this guy. Just like JT's saying this guy.
Yeah.
We'll continue to roll on here, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. So those are the two early matches, and they get split out of the gate, and then it's kind of just a little bit of a run on United States victories here, or at least not on international wins. Sam Burns and Hideki Matsuyama tie, then Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, and eventually Xander Schauffele win 3 of the next 4. It's Xander, Greg, that ends up with the cup clinching point. It was going to come. It was just a matter of time with the way that everything was shaping up. But the full point off of Xander's putter face is the clinching point this time around.
In the 7th match out there. So, halfway through, you did it right away. You just went out there and knocked him out. And it highlights the disadvantage the internationals were at coming into this. What Kyle said, or what Data Golf said about them never really losing this cup. It's just a long list of depth, and points are bound to come from everywhere. If they didn't win 4.5 points in this, it would have been a disaster.
Yeah,
an all-time disaster. Bigger than 2012. And so they're so loaded everywhere, and these guys are gonna pick up points, even if some of them don't play well. Scotty Scheffler goes out there and gets beat. Okay. Well, we got Xander, and we got Sam Burns, and we got Finau and Schauffele, and if we don't have you yet, we got Max Homa, who hasn't lost, and a 2-time major champion Colin Morikawa in the second to last match.
Well, and I think
we're loaded.
I think to go along with that, Greg, your floor, and so this is the point I was going to make about Xander and Corey Connors. Xander shot, you can check me on this, I think he was 1 over on the day.
I think you're right, with like 5 birdies.
And he wins. And so it's almost like the US floor is, and this is what you're saying, Greg, and I agree.
I had him at even, by the way.
Was he even?
Yeah.
He was even on the front, and then 1 under, even 1 over. Yeah, I think you're right. No, he bogeyed 17. I don't know. Even 1 over, whatever.
Yeah,
it's not a great score, and so the U.S. floor is really high. Your worst U.S. guy is going to shoot, I don't know, 1 over even. The problem for the internationals, among many, is that their worst guy is going to go out like Corey Connors and shoot not 71 or 72, but more like, I don't know what he shot, probably 74, 75. And so when you get when you start like collecting lesser talent, the floor drops to where it's so much easier to just throw for the international team to throw away one of those matches that they have to have. And Connors was terrible. He was so bad. And I like Connor. I think he's a good player. He just was not very good. And that it didn't necessarily have to be him. It could have been KH Lee, who's a fine player, but he's not great. It could have been Christian Bezuidenhout, who's an okay player, but he's not great. You're going to have these
never lost this week, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. You're going to have these 2, 3, 4 guys where their floor like just drops on them and they shoot 75. And it's like, well, even if the Americans play bad, they're still going to win those matches, which is such a problem for the international team.
A lot of overpar guys.
12-1-1, Greg. 12-1-1. That's the United States in President's Cup history now.
Yes. Now this one felt probably more lopsided than others have in the past. Definitely more so than 19. But this is the average. I don't have it in front. There might be a decimal, but on U.S. soil, which is what we always like to say in these events, the
always that qualifier.
Yeah. The U.S. is won by like an average of 5 points, maybe a little bit more. So you're right there in this. And the internationals have to get they got to get a couple more stars, a couple more Tom Kims. They could get 11 more. That'd be great. And you go back wherever they're playing next time, away from the U.S. And I think you have a real chance. Is it Canada?
Yeah, Montreal.
That's coming up in the next section. We're gonna do winners.
0 points out of the Canadians.
Final got that. It's on the outline. Don't get there yet. Final word on this side. We'll take a break and we'll do winners and losers, Kyle.
Well, I think the problem with what Greg's saying is it feels like you're, I don't know, who's a college football program that always goes 9-3 but thinks they're maybe a little like Texas A&M, where you go 9-3 every year and you're like, yeah, but next year, well, we're going to get a couple more guys next year. And for the internationals, it's like, I feel like I've been hearing that they need a couple more guys for 20 years. Right.
Yeah. It's a good point. I mean, and Johnny Manziel's nowhere to be found.
Johnny Manziel's not walking into that international team room.
Johnny Manziel's name was Tom Kim this week. We'll get to that. But I just don't know. And that doesn't mean like I think there's a place in professional golf for the President's Cup. I think it's competitive enough. This was the point that I made earlier. It's competitive enough that the path to get to the end, like from Thursday to Sunday, is fun. It's not fun if you win 25-5. This week was super fun because it's competitive enough that crazy things are going to happen. You're going to get Tom Kim ripping his pants. You're going to get Max Homa walking off a putt. You're going to get all these different things that if it's less competitive like it was in 2017, it's not that fun. If it's more competitive, great. But I think we're at sort of like the baseline of competitiveness to where if you dip below that, it becomes like not that great of an event. But if it stays here, like this week was super fun. It was kind of a blowout, I guess, but that didn't mean it wasn't a ton of fun to watch and to experience like we did all week. So I don't know. I hope the internationals improve because the U.S. is certainly, I think, improving. And if they do, I think this is again, it's not the Ryder Cup, but it doesn't have to be. And I think it's going to be a fun event for a long time.
We're going to talk winners and losers. We're going to go over our little money ball challenge, and we are going to discuss Rome, believe it or not. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. All right, winners and losers. Let's start with the winners. Obvious one, Greg, Tom Kim. Not only is he a stud, as we kind of saw the last half of the 2022 season where he gets a win and piles up all these great finishes, but he is also very, very likable.
Yeah, and that definitely helps. Because he was the star of this team. And he didn't have the best record, and he doesn't have the best record, didn't win the most amount of points, and is still in the running for MVP of this team. No question about it. So he was extremely impressive, and the kind of force that over the next couple of years will be a mainstay on this team. He definitely showed that ability. And you start to build on a couple of these young guys with he and Sung Jae Im, and maybe there are a couple of others that we talk about. It's really fun. It creates a fun atmosphere when you get to see these guys every 2 years. So majorly impressed with Tom Kim. And I got nothing bad to say about him. It was just a great performance for him.
It is kind of nice, KP, to get a spotlight on some of these guys, right? Like if you weren't tuning into the Wyndham or you're not closely following the world of golf, you might be like, who in the world is Tom Kim? Or like, I thought his name was Ju Hyung Kim, or like, what's going on here? When you get like 4 full days of a spotlight on him like that, I think he probably introduced himself to a lot of new people.
Yeah, I agree. I had people that even follow this stuff. They were like, wait, why did he choose the name Tom? And so I had to do the Thomas the Tank Engine stuff. And, he had the lunchbox and all these different things. I think that, the thing about Tom Kim, and this is not true. I think fans, and even us, because we are fans, we think that all professional golfers or athletes love what they're doing, because and I think this especially in golf, because you and I, Rick and Craig, we all, like, when we go play golf, it's really fun, right? We go play these, even if they're not cool courses, we're playing with friends, we do it as like downtime, something enjoyable. That's not true professional golfers. They're going to a job, right?
Correct.
And I think people forget that sometimes. Charles Howell III told me one time, like, tournament golf is not really that fun. It might look fun, but it is stressful and it's work and it's not that fun. And so I think it really resonates with people when you get somebody like I think this has been true of Spieth, which I think is why he has been so popular, but somebody like a Tom Kim who actually can't believe that, and this is true of Homa too, Max Homa, we're going to talk about him. Like, they can't believe that this is their job and they have a ton of fun doing it. And I hope that comes through in like the way that we do this job, because it is a ton of fun for us. But I really think that's the part that kind of clicked with people this week with Tom Kim is, hey, this is a job, but also I have a ton of fun doing it. And that's what we think everybody should be doing, but they don't. And so when somebody actually does, I think it really, really reverberates. And I think that's what you got with Tom Kim this week.
I call it loving the sprints, where most of us, a large majority of the population, can't relate to what it's like to play sports for a living. But many of us have played sports growing up. And while you love the sport, I loved hockey growing up. But there was a 2-month period where one of my coaches thought he must have just watched Miracle. He thought he was Herb Brooks. And we did sprints all practice for 2 months because we weren't playing well. And we went to practice every day and we stood on one goal line and we did sprints the whole time. And that's not fun, right? But we're choosing to do it. We're actually paying money to do it. And these guys, they love when they have to go get extra work in, when they have to go do the sprints to experience moments like this. And you're right. You're right on the money, Kyle. Not everybody loves it and wants to do it. But the guys who do. And I think you named them right there.
What's the line? The beatings will continue until morale improves. That's like what it's like. We just line up sprints over.
That's what it was like. You're going to sprint until you start playing better. I've never been in better shape, but it was not fun.
Tom Kim did not get a point on Sunday because he went up against Max Homa, who is another big winner in all of this. Homa won holes 12, 13, 14, and 15, a one-up victory over Tom Kim. KP, he won, 4-0-0. He was the top U.S. rookie. He was the top rookie overall, obviously undefeated. Him and JT both got 4 points. Max Homa, and stop me if you've heard this before, gets better at golf every single day.
Yeah, the Tom Kim stopper. He had quite a week, by the way. Wins Napa, 4-0-0, putt of his life on Friday, stops the best of all time in singles on Sunday. Yeah, is that it? I I feel a lot of, I mean, honestly, I feel a lot of the same stuff about Max as I do about Tom Kim. They're I think different dudes. I don't know if they have a ton in common, but I think a lot of the same traits. Max is not scared to tell you how much it means to him that he's playing in a President's Cup or he's playing in his first Masters or whatever. Like he will tell you about that. And I think that's really refreshing, you know, to hear from a professional athlete like that. So, yeah, I think it's also hard to square, and we've probably talked about this. It's hard to square this idea that, oh, Max is like the funny guy on Twitter to like also that he's like the 11th best player in the world. Like, I think people have like, they can't quite reconcile those two things. Right. And so he becomes what he was first primarily, which is like the funny guy on Twitter or whatever, and not primarily the 11th best player in the world or whatever he is right now. He's ranked like 15, but Data Golf probably has him inside the top 10. So, man, he's awesome. I'm super pumped for his 2023. I think the next thing for him is you gotta compete at the majors. You know, he hasn't done that yet, but he has enough experience and he's been through enough wars now that there's no excuse to not compete at the majors, which I think he would probably agree with also.
More likely to win a major in 2023, Max Homa, Greg, or Sung Jae Im?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tom Kim, and I had my answer ready.
No, come on.
I think Max Homa. Sung Jae Im, I don't think has improved at the level Max Homa has.
But what if he started out better?
Well, he did. He started out a whole lot better. But I feel like Max Homa's just on this upward trajectory with every area of his game where things are this is a tide that's rising all boats. Everything is on the way up. And Kyle and I talked about this, a year ago? I think it was after he won the Fortinet last time. I remember you asked me, Kyle, can he win a major? And I didn't think so because his short game was really not great.
Talking about
Homa. And it's gotten better. All of a sudden it's there now. And it's been really good for a long time. Ever since his win at the Wells Fargo, it's been great. So I think the all around total improvement, the total development and building to me feels like a major is right around the corner. And it feels like there are two of them that are perfect for him next year in LACC, that's the obvious one. But even more so, I mean, Oak Hill in Rochester.
Yeah.
It feels like exactly like Max Homa to me. So I don't know. That's my lean, but it's slight.
What do you think, Kyle?
Well, I was going to say Sungjae's, I got his best finishes. Sungjae's finished better at the majors than Max has. So Sungjae's T2 at the 2020 Masters. That was the weird one. T8 at the 2022 Masters. That was this year when Scheffler won. T17 at the PGA, 22nd at the Wingfoot US Open. So nothing spectacular. I'd probably lean toward Max just because I think his iron play is better. I don't know that Data Golf has Sungjae 11th and Max 14th in their rankings.
Rick's seething over there. There's no Rick saying he's like looking at you like Siwoo Kim and he's JT right now.
That's fine. I'll be.
There is no way anybody's better than Sungjae Im with irons.
Oh, I thought you meant because I was on Data Golf and not rickrungood.com.
No.
No,
I could just see him looking.
Well, I tweeted this out on Wednesday night. I said it can't be many times that Sungjae has been the fourth best iron player in his own group. And it was like him, Corey Connors, JT, and Spieth. Statistically, he's the fourth best iron player in that group. I don't know what to tell people. Like, you want me to like go off like what you saw at the John Deere or something? Like, I'm just giving you the numbers. I don't know what to say.
I love both of these guys. And actually, when we did that very early preview, I'm pretty sure I picked both of these guys at some point to win a major championship.
I think we picked everybody just to cover our asses
because we're professionals. That's how we do it. So we can clip those out later. Say, 9 months ago, we knew this was going to happen. To me, Max, well, I don't know how else, but Max is human. Sungjae might not be. Max is capable of playing with Tiger and just being like, I'm having a great time playing with Tiger, and I really don't care what I shoot. And Sungjae doesn't do that, right? And that's why Max is awesome. And it's cool because he tells us that. And it's cool because like he loves golf as much as we love golf, and he's a fan of it. But I do wonder about some super, super big moments.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Hey, producer Jacob, pull up this comment from Jack Fisher at 627. I love this comment. I think it's fantastic. He said, I think Max Homa will be a flash in the pan for sure, because, you know, flashes in the pan usually improve their year-over-year strokes gain for 7 years in a row, and then flame out right after that. I think that's probably spot on.
Yeah, no, the thing with Max, and I've talked to his coach, Mark Blackburn, on a couple of occasions about this. Well, not about this in its entirety, but he's said some things along the way, along this journey, that have all followed through. And it was after he won the Wells Fargo, he says his short game's really getting better. The stats aren't showing it yet, but they will soon. And in the next 15 events, or it was something crazy, like in the next 11 events, he gained strokes in 8 of them around the greens. And the 3 that he lost strokes in, it was less than 1. And then after even continuing after that, it just continued to improve. It was like 13 of 15 rounds in a row to end the year, gaining strokes around the green. And the point of bringing Mark Blackburn up is it's not a hot streak, right? They're developing skill along the way, and that sticks. That's the kind of thing that sticks. This isn't a guy that just got hot with the putter. This is a guy that has gotten consistent with the putter. Yeah, but the rest of his game, I mean, he can finish top 15 losing strokes putting every week. He's that kind of player.
I think what's interesting, Greg, is if you going back to 2017, not only has this overall strokes gain number improved every year, his approach shot strokes gain number has improved every single year. So 2017 was -1, then you get to plus 0.23, plus 0.19, so it went down a little bit, 0.42, 0.47, 0.65. So it's one thing if you have a season where you hit a bunch of putts and your strokes gain putting improves, but if your iron play is improving year over year, that tells me not only that you're talented, but also that you're working really, really hard to improve that part of your game. I want to see this. Rick wants a specific comment pulled up, and I want it to. I feel spicy tonight.
Is there an anti-Max like sleeper cell out there? What is happening with these comments? So Joseph Bosa says, let's be real. Max only retained at Fortinet because that never gets a good field. A lot of superstars hate playing in the fall, blah, blah, blah. Okay. What about the 2 wins at the Wells Fargo? What about Riviera? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Yeah. I was actually talking about a different comment from the same. Yeah, here we go. This is preposterous. Like, okay, so let's read
it for the listener. So it says Max only made the team due to Liv taking away the headaches. Go, Kyle.
Okay, so let's say Liv doesn't exist. So you get back. I guess the only 3 guys that you would get back that would be like even candidates for this team are Brooks, Bryson, and DJ, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe Reed would be like a 4th.
Ugh.
I know.
Maybe. Okay, so DJ's in. He would be in, which means that Kisner would be out. Right?
No question.
For sure.
Is Brooks on this team? Brooks stinks right now. Like, full stop, stinks. He's not good.
Very good possibility he didn't make the team.
For sure. Is Bryson on this team? He doesn't even play. He doesn't play.
No, he was hurt for a long time, and he would have had to have been a pick. So he would have needed to win. If you're talking about 2 picks here, well, who's playing better?
Well, that's what I'm saying is like if you're just picking names, sure, Max probably like gets boxed out by Brooks and Bryson. But if you're picking Brooks and Bryson, you might as well pick like Phil and Tiger. I mean, you're not living in reality if you think Brooks and Bryson are playing better golf than Max Homa right now.
Zalatoris would have been on the team.
Okay, well then
he got hurt. He didn't go to live.
Oh,
well,
sorry, for sure.
And Horschel
Cooch is the other one brought up here in the comments.
That's interesting.
I was trying to find the President's Cup standings like before they removed those guys, and I couldn't find it because none of them would have been auto qualifiers. They just hadn't played well enough. I was trying to see how far back, because you're not going to pull a Brooks from 31st, for example, over some of these guys that were, 10th, 11th, and 12th. I was trying to find the standings. I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it either.
They've been scrubbed from the PGA Tour website.
I was gonna say there's a reason for that. So I'm looking at strokes gained over the last 6 months. It goes Rory, Scheffler, Xander, Finau, Cam Smith, Cantlay, Rahm, Zalatoris, Fitzpatrick, JT, Shane Lowry, Sungjae, DJ, Max Homa. So I don't know. He's been like a top 15 player in the world for the last 6 months. Are you not taking that player on your team in favor of Brooks, who's a headache and doesn't even like team events, or Bryson, who needs like a babysitter at all times? I don't think you are. I don't know why I feel so like spicy tonight. I've had a great weekend.
Let it out. Let it out. You have
the microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I was really upset about that.
Other winner that we have, and we can add more to this if you guys want, but Captain Trevor Immelman seems to be a winner here. Greg, if this was football, he'd go into his contract negotiation and say, "Hey, I covered. I'm better. I'm good against the spread. Don't worry about outright wins."
Is that what they say?
Does that happen?
If you are 12-4 against the spread and you were like 4-12, you'd be like, "I overperformed." I would absolutely use that in contract negotiations.
I would get some DVOA guys in there and just start negotiating my contract.
Exactly.
What would Jerry Jones say?
Jerry Jones would say,
"You won 4 times. You're
Jerry
out."
is going to put him like there will be a day Jerry Jones is the owner, president, GM, head coach, starting quarterback. It's coming.
Ahead? It's in the future?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's coming.
Hysterical.
But Trevor, listen, look at the record before this week. 11-1-1 in favor of the United States. He then also gets Cam Smith, Joaquin Neiman, probably Abe Answer too, potentially Mark Leishman, who are no longer eligible for his team. And he covers and wins the weekend. I think he deserves another crack at this. I think he got screwed.
What did he get screwed by?
A once in a generation situation where 3 or 4 of the best players on his team were no longer eligible for his team 2 weeks in advance.
Well, I think what's interesting is, let's say Cam Smith, who would it have been? Cam, Joaquin, and
Answer.
He could have taken Leishman. Leishman was 16
Louis
standings.
Louis sitting there.
But Louis, that we knew that though. I'm talking about just like 2 weeks in advance.
Got it.
These
So
guys.
we knew Answer too.
Okay.
But I think what's interesting is that some of those guys at the bottom that he picked, like Cam Davis, actually performed well. So
Munoz was great.
Munoz, I don't know that what your replacement would have been for the, like, does Cam Smith go 5-0? Probably not, right? So I just don't know that the replacement would have. I think it's easy to just sort of say, okay, well, you take off the 3 worst guys. Well, he wouldn't have known who the 3 worst guys were going to be in the actual event, right?
Okay, but Bezadenhout, who got him up 1.5, does not make this team. I could fairly easily argue Cam Smith gets you more than 1.5 because he's going to play 5 sessions. And
he also, even if he doesn't, he gives you options when you're putting these teams together. It's a completely different atmosphere. You feel like you're kind of locked into. Well, I guess I'll say this: Adam Scott and Hideki Matsuyama are your lead dogs going in. With Cam Smith there, they're not. Maybe it's Hideki and Cam Smith. Adam Scott now goes into a, secondary kind of role, and that could change things. You don't have to lean on a 42-year-old Adam Scott. And maybe that alters his performance, his feeling. He's a contributor, not a leader. He's coming off the bench in a way. I think I really do think it changes it, but I understand your point, KP.
I'm sort of being devil's advocate. I think that I'm biased because I like Trevor Immelman, but I think that I think we're giving him maybe too much of the credit for the origination of this. I think Ernie Els did a really good job back in 2019, and he said this on our podcast, Rick, of sort of resetting expectations for the international team, right? And I think the foundation for that is this idea that Trevor maybe I think he was maybe louder about this than Ernie Els was, but this idea, and I've talked to Trevor about this separately, that like, man, you're playing against the best. Like I think they look at playing the Americans as this honor of like, these are the best dudes in the world. They're the best dudes on the PGA Tour. We want to like, we revel in that. We want to take it to them. And I think Ernie Els sort of started that idea, and Trevor did a really, really good job of continuing it. And I don't know, I like him, so I hope he's captain again. He works for CBS, so it's like I'm maybe not the most unbiased person to be talking about Trevor Immelman, but I was impressed just by the way he handled things and sort of the mantra that he had for the international team going forward.
That Ernie Els rebrand of this team, awesome. Will very good for the future. Losers.
I've got. Can I go first?
Sure.
Scheffler.
By far the biggest. His number one player in the world. He was 3-1.
Yeah, half a point.
I shouldn't think he didn't look that good.
I was gonna say it kind of looked worse than that.
Yeah. He hit that shank. It wasn't just that. I mean, everybody hits.
Even the half point he got, he chipped in. And I don't know. It just, did not look good.
Well, so I made my picks on Tuesday, and I said JT was going to be the top point getter for the U.S. And then I saw Andy Johnson of the Fried Egg. He picked Scheffler to be the top point getter, and I was like, man, that's such a good pick because Scheffler, coming off of Whistling Straits, he's going to play a bunch. Coming off the Tour Championship, he's playing well. He didn't dip in his ball striking really all year, and so I was thinking I wish I would have made that pick. And then so all that to say, I was super surprised at how just kind of mediocre he played. I think he's such a gamer. He's such a give me the ball. I want Jon Rahm in singles on Sunday at the Ryder Cup. There's not a lot of dudes like that, and I think he's one of them. And so I was surprised at how, kind of what his record was. And I'd have to go back and look at, Burns had a similar record, but I think everybody would say Burns played pretty well. I don't know what Scotty's actual numbers were, but just from watching it seemed like he was a little bit off.
I got him here. Foursomes. So the first match with Burns, they made as a team 4 see shot even par, lost 2 down. To Siwoo.
How many birdies?
4.
They made 4 together. Yeah,
4 together. In the 4 ball,
it's not bad.
He made, this is the next day now. He made 5 birdies. And he shot 2 under on his own ball. Again, this is just going off the President's Cup scorecards. His partner was Burns again, obviously, and they tied. He made 6 birdies again with Burns in the next foursomes match. They were 3 under and lost to KH Lee and Tom Kim. Wow. He was 2 under today.
That was maybe the match of the event.
Right. I mean, were they 9 under in that together?
It was awesome.
Insane. In singles, he made an eagle and 4 birdies. He was 2 under and lost to Munoz 2-1. So, he's the disappointment no matter what, because he's your number 1 player in the world and got half a point. I don't think it was as bad as there are other players who played worse in this field, but those players didn't have the expectations Scotty has.
Correct.
Yeah, great point.
He has the burden of expectation. Corey Connors was way worse. Corey Connors was, and I'm sorry, Corey, but every time I saw him do something, it was shockingly bad. For a guy who is dialed with irons and wedges, we saw none of that. I think I saw him miss every putt. I watched him putt off greens at times. It was just like complete bonkers out there.
At one point, I thought to myself, is he ill? Like, is there something wrong? Like that's, and I'm not. Again, I like Corey Connors. I think he's an underrated player. He's going to finish in the top 10 at Augusta next year because he does every single, or he has the last couple of years. He just was. That's how shockingly bad he was. I thought he would be way. I mean, and the international team needed him to be way better than he was throughout the week.
You want his numbers?
I mean, I guess I don't.
All right, with Sungjae Im, probably my international MVP. Anyway, he makes one eagle, or they make one eagle, one birdie. They shoot one over, lose 2-1 to Spieth. 4-ball the next day with Pendrith. He makes 2 birdies. He shoots 2 over. They lose 1 down. Foursomes with him again. They make 3 birdies. They shoot 4 over and lose 4 and 3. And then in singles, he makes 4 birdies, shoots 3 over, and loses 1 down to Schauffele.
Well, and this is a little bit what I'm talking about, where when you have so many mediocre guys compared to the U.S., obviously they're really good players, but compared to the U.S., 3 of those guys are just going to have that week, and those guys are going to get roasted because the U.S. floor is just so much higher across the board for their guys.
I'm sorry to whoever tweeted me this. I can't remember who it was, but someone said I had really high hopes for Sungjae this week, but he ran into the buzzsaw that is Corey Connors.
That's right.
That's pretty good. That's really funny.
Yeah,
he should not have played. It was disappointing to me that he played on Saturday morning. I think that was a mistake.
You needed your boy Munoz back out there.
Yes, I know. Rick and I talked about that 3 times through this week already.
Why is Munoz not out on the golf course?
Yeah.
Get
him on the course. He is shooting 61 every time he plays.
He was good.
So the Canadians who did not together, the 2 of them, Taylor Pendrith, Corey Connors, did not record a single, even half a point. 0, 8, and 0.
Somebody, I won't tell you who, but somebody texted me and said they should take the President's Cup away from Montreal next time around for their performance.
That's the segue. They're going to Montreal next time. The Canadians, hopefully they got it all out of their system now, because that ain't pretty.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Canadian golfers in general. Some in particular, some more than others. But this is a disappointing performance. And I think there was a really big expectation that this Canadian team could really step up and be a rah-rah team in this. And they were far from it, unfortunately.
The next time we get a team competition, it'll be next year. We'll be in Rome. Will
we be in Rome? Hopefully we will be.
Who do we start petitioning right now?
When in Rome.
To be in Rome. We'll crowdfund it.
By the way, don't do I'm not talking to you guys, but any listeners, don't do are you not entertained? Because like 9 million people are going to do it because we get it. Like the Colosseum is in Rome. It's going to get old.
If you like your money tied up for a year, you can go over to our friends at Caesar Sportsbook and wager on 2 teams that you have no idea who are playing yet. The United States minus 190, the Europeans plus 190, and if you're a real sicko, the tie is 12-1.
The tie is sick.
Okay, how about this though? It is not lost on me that 2 potential up-and-coming Ryder Cuppers have won. Is it the last 2 weeks or 2 of the last 3 weeks? Robert McIntyre wins at this course. What's it called?
Le Golf National.
No, it's not. It's
Marco Simone.
Marco Simone wins at Marco Simone, and then Guido Migliozzi wins this week at Le Golf National, who is Italian and probably knows Marco Simone pretty well. So how about
No,
that?
like,
Ryder Cup youngsters?
He actually knows Marco Simone, or he knows.
Yeah, he knows him personally. That's like when I found out JP McManus was a real person and alive, I was shook.
Me too.
Not
Me
only that,
too.
but also apparently affecting the future of golf.
Correct. Like
Yeah.
in part of the decision-making process.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the alive part was shocking to me. I figured it was a person.
Charles
I'm
Schwab
not-
is alive and kicking.
Is he really?
Yes.
Chuck, you still can.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
Now I'm shook. I'm not scared of Rome. I think the U.S. is. I think they're going to roll. I'm not scared at all.
In 30 years.
I'm a little scared.
Well, there's still so much to see. Like it's great for Guido and Robert McIntyre to go get some wins. Definitely add some excitement, but I don't think it has any impact on how we feel going into that event now.
Well, and it's a little bit of the same thing that I'm talking about here, Greg. Do you remember back in 2016 when it was at Hazeltine, Matt Fitzpatrick was on his first Ryder Cup team, and he was terrible. Like he was so bad, just abysmal. And he obviously turned into and he was a great amateur and all that. And he's turned into a great pro, like a pro that I think could be a top 5, top 10 player in the world for several years. But it's just when you roll, unless you're just this wonderkind of like a Rory or a Rahm type, if you're rolling guys out there in their first Ryder Cup and putting all that history on their plate and saying like, hey, don't lose the first Ryder Cup in 30 years to these guys in Europe. That's a lot. And I don't know that you're going to get, I mean, maybe some guys emerge as like, okay, this is like the dude, or maybe you get the Danny Willett, Thomas Peters reemergence, because those were supposed to be the next dudes and they didn't really materialize like I think we thought they would. But man, I don't know that they're going to have the depth to where I just think you're going to get some guys that shoot 76 and get beat by Xander Schauffele shooting a 73, because that's the US floor. Their floor is just so high individually. And I'm sure that we can clip this entire thing a year from now and I will regret every single word, but I think the US is going to beat the Europeans in Rome.
Burn the tapes.
Are there any possible, by the way, Charles Schwab is 85 years old. Are there any possible surprises for the United States team? Or is it going to be basically what we saw this week or what we have seen with like Zalatoris, or maybe if Berger gets healthy again? Like, is there anybody lurking that could snap through onto the U.S. team?
I think Zalatoris will be on it. I think your boy Aaron Wise has an opportunity to play his way on.
Wow. If Aaron Wise plays his way onto a Ryder Cup team, I will have retired because I would have made a ton of money off of that. Because I bet the guy every single week.
He's right behind Homa in strokes gained over the last 6 months. He
don't have to tell me that. I know
he's been playing really, really well. Berger, yeah.
But what I mean is, like, you know, there's kind of the natural phase out. The European team was so much older, and there were guys that were naturally phasing out of it. That's not really existing on the United States team. So I'm wondering, like, who's the biggest surprise that could be on? Aaron Wise is kind of interesting. Maybe he wins a couple times. I don't know. But, like, who else could play themselves onto this team?
Keegan Bradley?
Oh, boy.
No, I think there are probably some younger players.
Davis Riley?
Davis Riley is a great example.
That'd be cool.
You know, Cam Young would have been, if we had this conversation last year about the President's Cup, he wouldn't have been a conversation.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and here he is.
Name, yeah.
You know,
Justin
yeah, Taylor Montgomery, maybe. I mean, I don't know. They're very unlikely, but I think you're probably talking about a turnover of 3 guys. Say on this team, there's probably 9 guys that play on the Ryder Cup team, would be my guess.
Yeah, I think 8 or 9 is fair. You always get like the injury, like you had Harris English year over year, got hurt and just kind of fell off a little bit. Berger got hurt. That always happens. You're not going to get the exact same 12. Kisner, I I wouldn't think would be on the team. I mean, I don't know. I haven't studied Marco Simone, the player or the person or the course, but is it going to be a Le Golf National situation where you want like a fairway hitter instead of like, you don't want, do you want a Bryson or do you want I don't know,
Max Homa.
Matt Kuchar, who just hits a ton of fairways, Kevin Kisner, who hits a ton of fairways. I think that part of it should be taken into consideration. I don't know if it will be, because sometimes the big hitters are also kind of the big stars and the big names, and it's hard to not take those guys because you get criticized as a captain for not doing it. But I hope they learn their lesson from Paris and they don't throw. I mean, I'll never get over the Bryson Phil pairing in Paris on a tight course. It's like, that's not going to go well. Like, what is that? So I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. I'll be thinking about it for every day for the next 12 months. I don't know. I think Kisner and Horschel will probably drop off. You might get a Cam Young or Homa could drop off. I don't know. I mean, who knows how the next year is going to go? But I think I will say I don't know that your depth beyond the 12 is great, because we don't. I mean, you can throw Berger on there. Do you get excited about Aaron Wise? I don't know. I think your depth from like the top 10 or the top 12 is really good, but beyond that, I don't think it's what it has been over the last couple of years.
I have some breaking news out of the Bronx. In the bottom
Aaron Judge?
In the bottom of the third inning with one out, Aaron Judge walked.
Oh.
I thought he was going to do it while we were on air. Didn't happen.
He's at 60, right?
He's at 60. So we'll have to wait. Final thing, gentlemen. We got to do our odds and ends. And Jacob is correct. Marco Simone is a castle, not a person. There is a Marco Simone. He's like an Italian football manager and looks pretty slick. But it's this Marco Simone, the golf course, is based off of a castle, which is also pretty slick. Moneyball. This is where we gave everybody $50 and said, go make your best bet. Kyle could not abide by the rules, so he put 25 on the U.S. after leading after day 2. Cash it, and 25 on JT to be top American at 7-1, and you got Spieth. Because JT,
I did.
If I told you JT got you 4 points before the week started, you'd have been loving that.
Sorry, JT was just responding to one of my tweets from earlier today. The one where I said nothing juices me up for a day of team golf like JT's insistence of displaying his frustration over not getting a putt inside of 3 feet.
What is?
And he said it was a 1.5 feet. I think it was like 2.7, by the way. So he's.
You should never expect a putt to be given.
I think he might be wrong about that. I don't regret the pick. I think JT is top American. I stand by it. We had him where we wanted, and Spieth just, like he does, backed into another victory here. So 7-1. It was I loved it.
Greg, we did not have you on the show where we did this, but I'm sure you would have picked a winner.
Yeah, I would have had Spieth 5-0.
Exact score, Spieth 5.
Yeah. I would have had Munoz top rookie internationals. Siwoo Kim was top point scorer
for the
internationals. Yeah, I had that.
We were able.
This would have been tough.
We were able to talk Kyle off of a 27-3 exact score.
No, 23-7, not 27-3.
23-7 exact score, which was nice. Let's see. Patrick took Sung Jae to be top point scorer. He played 5 sessions, 18-1, but he ended up scoring 2.5 points, which is obviously not 5. So that's how that works. And then Coach went with Xander to be leading points winner, plus 7.5. Again, not 5. That's how that works. And I cashed another one, but I didn't get much from it because it was minus 250. USA to lead after day 1 was about the biggest lock of all locks.
Yeah, that was wise.
Aaron Wise.
First.
So I would be if JT would have hit, I would be at what? I'd be like right there with Rick. That would have been another 175.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel I'm fine. I'm not drifting down to cut. This is my game right here. The one and done was a disaster. This is my game. Can I producer Jacob, can I start making like 20 bets again?
No. Once we get back to next week, you will see the format like in practice, and there is a safeguard against Kyle trying to make 20 bets.
Okay,
We let you have 2 this time, simply for the exception that it was a short week and we weren't able to do it.
Listen,
like,
I'm going
on
vacation next week, so I might have to just email them in, and it might get out of control. So
Then
I'm sorry.
I'll parse it down for you.
We tried to Kyle proof the contest. We'll see. But this is the new format for the fall, which I think is very, very good.
Well, Kyle started doing better when you changed from 20 to like
you're right.
1 bet, and you started crushing it.
You're right.
You got to keep it
Rick,
limited.
do you on these, like, go back to the numbers there if you can, producer Jacob? So when you have a minus 250, are you just going to try to hit as many minus 250s as you can, or what's your strategy?
No, that was just for this week. So what I had done in week 1, where we have this money ball, is I put it on a matchup. I think it was like a plus 110 or something, like a plus 105 matchup. It's just something that actually, I think it might've been Taylor Montgomery top 40 at even money or something like that. I'm just looking for something that I'm very, very confident in. I did not think anything like that particularly existed for the President's Cup. You will not see me in the minus 250 range probably ever again.
How much what's the return on minus 250 on $50? I can't do that math.
I'm assuming the way that Jacob did it is that I did not. So there's 2 ways I could do this. I could either do it to win 50, in which I would have had to have laid 2.5 times 5, which is what, 125. But I'm assuming he did it the other way. So I probably got Jacob like 13 or 14 bucks out of this.
That is correct.
A win's a win, baby.
Win's a
Take it
win.
to the bank.
Win's a win.
Yeah, I mean I'm going to be in the minus a lot. So, I mean, I'm going to be picking the shorter odds, not in the red.
What's nice is you're going to be able to you're going to be required to put $10 each on 2 different outrights. So what I imagine is going to end up happening is like we're going to end up taking like Max Homa at the Fortinet at 16-1 and someone at like, I don't know, 80. Yeah, there's the format for you. And
okay,
first time somebody hits like that 60 or 80-1 on their tent, like that's gonna be a good day. That's gonna boost the old.
That was my. I'll never stop talking about it. But that was my 40-1 at when Morikawa won the Open.
Yep. That was pretty sick. And then it was like Rahm top 10 plus and Morikawa to win. Those are the 2 bets, and they were both like cash.
Smash.
Dirty.
So good. Final thought.
JT kept responding to these people. Don't like JT apparently, and he kept responding to people. And somebody said, "Are you really taking offense, or do you just play it up as fuel?" And he said, "JT, this is a real response on Twitter." He said, "I loved it, talking about Siwoo not giving him putts." He said, "Sometimes you get yourself pumped up. He beat my ass down the stretch, though. It was a great match. He made some awesome putts." So I thought that was cool. JT's great. I love JT.
He's very cool.
Very cool.
Anything else? Going once, going twice?
Great week. Sorry I couldn't be on more often, but thanks for obliging my microphone issues and having me back on.
No problem. Sanderson Farm next week. Then Viva Las Vegas Shriners for the following week, which will be fun. DFS preview Monday, mega preview Tuesday, content, etc., is coming down the pipe. Big thanks to producer Jacob. Does all the hard work behind the scenes. Greg Ducharme is available on Twitter at the real GFD. Kyle Porter is available at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.